Well, here we are in South Florida, and it's in January. No, I'm sorry, February 1st. And it's cold today. It's 63 degrees. Ooh, that's cold. I better start walking soon, but I wanted to show you just some of the semi-tropical plants that we have around here. It's the live oaks with the Spanish moss, and we'll see some other things as we're walking. And I wanted to talk about, have you ever thought about removing yourself and your family from the geopolitical madness that we're seeing these days? I learned something in the last couple of years about that, and I left the US just before the last lockdown started, and we were going to go treasure hunting in the Bahamas, and so we chartered a power cat, and we were over there for a week or so and just didn't find anything. But we thought, okay, well, we're just going to go have some fun. Now, then the lockdown started, okay, back in the US, and we actually could not get back to the US because all the airlines stopped running. But it ended up being a good thing because what we discovered in the out islands of the Bahamas, not in the crowded Nassau area, that a whole different world existed out there. And that is, nobody seemed to be bothered by the current geopolitical situation, some of the craziness that we were seeing on the news. Out there in the out islands, mask mandates were not enforced. Life was normal and sane. Everybody was healthy. And life just went on the way it has for hundreds of years out there. The same every day. You know, the sun goes up, you catch some fish, you mend your sails, you have some laughs, maybe drink a little beer, the sun goes down, and then it happens all over again the next day. You know, life is good. And so we saw no major supply line disruptions in the out island areas. There was no crime out there. Everybody was well behaved. There were no limitations on travel if you were on a yacht. So you could just go wherever you want and do whatever you want. I also found that, you know, we had cold beer in our fridge, and that you could barter cold beer for other things and come out on top. That is, you know, one time, believe it or not, we saw some lobster fishermen with a whole bunch of lobsters, and I got a 1 pound lobster tail for one cold beer, okay? That's a pretty good trade. And it's happened with fish, potatoes, and, you know, other things out there. Now, one thing that people don't know is that Long Island in the southern Bahamas, that's the next island from the Exumas, is the breadbasket of the Bahamas, okay? They grow all kinds of crops, food crops, you know, peas, beans, all kinds of things. And they have more livestock than anywhere else in the Bahamas. So they also have a large surplus of fresh organic food. And also out there, the air and the water is super clean. That is, there's no chemtrails that I've ever seen, but let's just say they decided to give us a dose of chemtrails. Well, the wind blows fairly strong every day because you're in the trade wind belt. And so the chemtrails would probably just blow away, you know? And the water is very clean. The sand is white, 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 clean, beautiful, nice sand. And the ocean currents in that area are strong. I mean, you have to watch out in some places, but my point is it flushes out the harbors and other areas on a daily basis. So, you know, you can swim in the water by your boat. You know, I've had problems in the past swimming in crowded harbors because, you know, some people do discharge their toilets there, you know? And I caught dysentery once. That lasted 6 months. You don't want that. So you want to stay in clean water, okay? I also noticed that out there, the people are just good old country folk. They're friendly, they're nice, they're generous, and they like us. So, you know, it's a good place to be. And if you're cruising in a catamaran out there, remember, you, having a shallow draft, can get into anchorages that the deep draft monohulls and larger vessels cannot get into. So you can always find a nice spot to stay quite comfortably, and it's just a better place to be. Now, this isn't the only area in the world like this. I've cruised all around the world, and I've been to a lot of different places. There's many, many more, but this is one example of a place that if, you know, something really bad happens, life there just goes on like normal. They don't seem to notice it. So if you have any questions about that or need help with catamarans, go to my website, largecatamaransforsale.com. I've got a lot of resources there, and I'm happy to send you my report, Insider Secrets to Buying Catamarans, and just contact me that way through largecatamaransforsale.com. That's pretty much all for today, and hope to hear from you. Have a great one. Just a little side note, you know, this is the home of a gopher tortoise, and they used to be all over South Florida, but their population has diminished quite a bit in recent years. Anyhow, you can always tell where they nest by looking for the freshly dug out sand, you see. And so you see the hole for that tortoise is right over down there, and it's kind of hard to see, but go on, buddy, go on back home. It's all right. But you see, that's how you spot them. And that's just a unique creature that inhabits certain parts of South Florida that haven't been overdeveloped. So this tree is loaded with these air plants, and here's one that's flowering. It kind of looks like a birds of paradise type flower. We see a lot of these live oaks here. That one's probably over 100 years old, and there's some Spanish moss. And then here's a really tall pine tree. Some of the tallest pine trees I've ever seen are here. I believe that's a Dade County pine, and that wood is really hard and strong. It's as strong and hard as oak. And the Indians would seek out Dade County pine to make their chickee huts out of because it's super strong. This Spanish moss is all over the place here. It's an air plant. And when I was in high school, my girlfriend and I thought it would be fun to use it in a Mardi Gras costume. I'm from New Orleans. And so we got a bunch of Spanish moss, and we stapled it to long underwear because it was going to be cold that Mardi Gras day. And we spray painted it green so we looked like swamp creatures. And so the day we wore our costumes, we went out, we were having a lot of fun, but after about an hour and a half, she said, "Hey, aren't you itching a lot?" I said, "Yeah, I am." And turns out we had a bunch of bites all over our body, and we found out that Spanish moss is loaded with lice. So, you know, we had to take really hot baths and you know, wash our clothes in you know, hot water. And well, we learned the lesson there now. So be careful if you're handling it or bringing it home. Just a little tip from South Florida. This is a statue of the great Miccosukee warrior chief Abiaka, and he was also known as Sam Jones. And the Miccosukees were allied with the British in the War of 1812, and so afterwards the U.S. Army was not too happy with them and took 3,000 of them and marched them off to Oklahoma. Now Sam was a war chief for like 40 years at war with the U.S. Army. Now here he is showing a squaw where to go hide out to escape the roundup. Now they hid a lot of people on that ridge where we were walking. This whole area was underwater, except for the islands that were higher ground. And that ridge we were on was 25 to 28 feet above sea level. So here he is, showing her which way to go. And so those are the trails that go to where we were walking. We're now in the Treetops Park, which is connected to the Pine Island Ridge. Quite a historical spot. Okay, so Major William Lauderdale was in the U.S. Army and was sent to flush out the Indians here in 1838, which is what he did right near here. And this is on a ridge called Forest Ridge. And here's a shot of the ridge, and with some big old oak trees. And so this ridge runs down there, and then it goes right and left. It's like a big anchor in shape. And so they chased the Indians back down there, and then the soldiers kind of ran out of steam, and the Indians went and hid out to the right, where I showed you that Sam Jones was telling them to go over there. That's where we were walking. So that's where they hid out. And so there were 300 Indians who escaped being rounded up and sent to Oklahoma. And those 300 Indians who hid out right where we were walking, their descendants today are part of the Seminole tribe of Florida, who own the Hard Rock Casino nearby. And they're worth millions and millions of dollars. I remember in the 1980s of hearing that every member of the tribe over the age of 18 got $60,000 a year tax-free. And so, they didn't have to work. And so the tribe has done really well for the descendants of those who hid out here with Sam Jones in 1838, getting away from that guy right there who was chasing them.